built up the trust, built up a community, and then realized that I had a knack for digital art that I had never realized before. I ended up creating Cartel Punks, which was the first NFT collection I had. That just did massively well. For BSC, it minted out in 2 weeks. And so for a 10,000 collection on Binance Smart Chain to mint out in 2 weeks, that's astronomical. But then I saw on BSC that there wasn't really anybody who had multiple collections, that was building a name for generative collections. So I decided to be that person. I decided to take over the blockchain. And so I just kept pushing out more collections, did a couple of commission collections. And now I'm so far ahead. Now I'm the only artist on BSC to mint out multiple 10,000 collections. And I'm just so far ahead in the number of NFTs minted and the number of collections I have that nobody else is even close. So Wisconsin Capital Occupation was what started Occupy Wall Street. It had happened before Occupy Wall Street, and we just took over the Capitol. I was like the main leader of that. The feds actually really didn't become a big issue until Mike Brown got shot. A lot of people don't remember. It had nothing to do with him getting shot or why he got shot. The reason why was because they wouldn't release the name of the officer that killed him. Someone from the core groups of Anonymous that went by G of Anti-Sec had come across some information that was very helpful that needed to be released. So I was approached and I agreed to release the information. What it happened to be was 3 White House phone numbers directly inside of the Situation Room. Yeah, and these are numbers for like foreign dignitaries and shit. So they're too important to change or disconnect. And they're not being answered by people who are paid to deal with pissants like you and me. And so they start getting flooded with phone calls of people who are pissed about Ferguson and what's going on in Ferguson. So that's when the feds really started having an issue with me. Homeland Security tried getting me to take down the phone numbers, and I kept refusing.
If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today, I've got my main man, NFT Demon. Man, this guy, I met him in, I think it was, I can't remember what month, but it was my second trip to Miami. Maybe it was in December I met him, and I ran into him again earlier this year in Miami, the second time. But it was a very cool conversation to have with NFT Demon. He has a very interesting background and life story, and I just want to get him on because he's the biggest NFT artist on the Binance Smart Chain. Jeremy, what is the Ryan part coming from? Jeremy,
Ryan's my last name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I know what your middle name is though.
Oh yeah. My middle name's No Fucks.
Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, this guy's middle name is No Fucks. He showed me in Miami. He brought out his driver's license. He's not playing. What's going on, bro? I appreciate you coming on today for another Kicking It session.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a great time to be in NFTs, and it's a great time to be kicking it and just having these chats.
Yeah, so NFTs. Before that, you had to have been into crypto before you knew what a damn NFT was. So kind of give me your story into crypto, and then I want to go a step further backwards and talk about like your journey, your life. You got an interesting story. So tell us about how you got into crypto first.
Basically I got into crypto because due to a series of events, which we'll discuss later, I ended up losing everything multiple times in my life. And I had about $50, and this was the early SafeMoon days. And I had about $50 available. I put it into SafeMoon, not even knowing what SafeMoon was. Just like I see all this hype. This was like day 4 too, but like I see hype within the tech communities. This was before like regular people really knew about it that much. But I see all this hype within the tech communities of like, hey, this is about to take off, blah blah blah. It's starting to take off. It had started then, but nothing like what it became. And so I put $50 in, and like 2 weeks later, I had $5,000, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And so so I just took that $5,000 and flipped it into other shit coins, And at that
I'm,
time,
I'm glad. I'm glad you labeled it a shit coin. That's good. You.
yeah, no, I mean it is, but I mean
But you can
also
make money off of it though. At the
Sheep
end of
is
the
a
day,
shitcoin. Sheep's a
right?
shitcoin, and that's
Absolutely.
that's worth more than most stable coins.
Yep.
You know, Sheep
Yep.
is like the fourth or fifth highest cryptocurrency in the country as far as market cap, I think.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
you know that's thousands of cryptocurrency stablecoin projects that aren't even as big as Sheep, and Sheep is a shitcoin.
Yep.
So, and so is Doge, really. But yeah, I started off in there, and back in the Safe Moon days, like everything was popping off. I mean, you would still get scammed here. You still get scammed sometimes, and sometimes you would lose money. But almost everything was just like taking off back then, when SafeMoon was taking off on BSC. So then I started running tokens, and I met a developer friend in China, and he made all my smart contracts. And for some time, just ran a bunch of different tokens, and so basically in BSC, because there's so many scams out there, if all you do is not ever scam anyone, you can build up a pretty decent name. People will trust you. People will really follow you. People will ape into your stuff. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not. They know they can trust you, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I did. Is just ran tokens and built up the trust, built up a community, and then realized that I had a knack for digital art that I had never realized before. And so I ended up creating Cartel Punks, which was the first NFT collection I had. And that just did massively well. That did so amazing well. For BSC, it minted out in 2 weeks. And so for a 10,000 collection on Binance Smart Chain to mint out in 2 weeks, that's astronomical. But then I saw on BSC that there wasn't really anybody who had multiple collections that had been minted out that that was building a name for generative collections. So I decided to be that person. I decided to take over the blockchain. And so I just kept pushing out more collections, did a couple of commission collections, and now I'm so far ahead. Now I'm the only artist on BSC to mint out multiple 10,000 collections. And I'm just so far ahead in the number of NFTs minted and the number of collections I have, that nobody else is even close.
So
And
so for
BSC,
the so for the beginners, let's back up. For the beginners, explain how this whole NFT space goes and the mints and all of that and how much money is made and all of kind of explain that for people who may not understand.
So basically, what happens is you get the whatever chain it's on. For mine, it's Binance Smart Chain. So you would get Binance Coin or BNB, and then switch it over to Smart Chain. That's something that on any if you go to my website nftdemon.art, go to any of my telegrams. If you're confused, you want to get in but you don't know how, just go into the telegram and ask. Because if I can't help you, somebody else will help you, and we'll gladly walk you through. Um, for it doesn't matter what collection. It could be Cartel
Right.
Punks, could be Badass Doggos, could be Cat. I only listed the telegrams on my website of the collections that I also run.
Mm.
So like that collection's dead, that collection's dead. But I didn't run those two collections, so I also don't have the telegrams or anything mentioned. So
I see what you're saying.
yeah,
When you say
yes.
it's dead, what does that mean?
Well, so those were commissioned by tokens. So it was a shitcoin that wanted an NFT collection.
I got you.
And so if the
I
shitcoin
got you.
dies, the NFTs die. And that's the shitcoin died. That changed my calculus. Those two collections changed my calculus of what I'll do and what I won't do now.
Mm.
Just because I can't have too
You
much
live
of
and you
that.
learn. Right.
Yeah. I mean, having two of those collections is fine, but if I become known as the person who just creates collections for shitcoins, and then they almost never take off, then that doesn't help me at all. And so I've moved, like I'll only deal. There is another coin. It's actually a utility token though, because they have a whole entire NFT platform called Wonkly, but they're doing a collection with me. but their market cap on their token is 300 million. So, it's a little bit different than like a $5 million market cap coin
Mm-hmm.
or a 10 million. And once you're already at 300 million, I don't think your project's going to die, you know?
Right.
And you've
Right.
invested all this money into it. And, and I'm not cheap to hire either. So, for them to hire me was a rather expensive ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put all that in, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to have any issues of the whole project dying.
Right. Right. Understood. Understood. So I see this one on your site. You showed me sneak peeks of this upcoming NFT
Yeah, that's actually
project.
that gaming Shiba NFTs. Those were I just wanted to kind of test and see like what type of thing. So one, it was a fuck you to a dev who was rugging his project.
Mm.
And so it was making a statement. I had proven by doing blockchain research that he had rugged millions of dollars from the project. But what he was doing was he was pumping it and dumping it himself and then taking the profit. So it would still consistently pump. And so he'd take 100,000 of that $1 million one day and pump it from like 8 million to like 12 million. And then a bunch more people would come in and it'd go to 15 and then he'd just dump it all. And then they'd
Mm.
go back down to like 8 and so or 7. But I was able to prove like without any doubt through a network of wallets how he did it and how much money he was cashing out over to Binance, and it was millions of dollars. And he came combative at me, and so I said, you know what, fuck you. Your token has been out for a month. You've been promising NFTs from the beginning. You haven't delivered. I'm delivering within a week, and I pushed out. And so that whole project was supposed to just be like a statement to the dev and just kind of like a fuck you. But what it became was proof that I can sell out pretty quickly, because that was 1,000 NFTs and those sold out in pre-sale. That never hit the public market. So
Wow.
all
So
1,000, yeah.
and how do you determine, and I don't want you to give your secret sauce away, or if it is any method to your madness, like how do you determine pricing, the floors or whatever for these NFTs?
I really it's just been kind of guessing. It's been more of a guessing game for me. So for like Badass Doggos, that one's not fully minted yet, but that I set at a higher price point. It's a bit finer art. It was a smaller collection, so that one was a bit higher price point. So that one will move as BSC moves. So as BSC picks up, that will pick up. Um, but it's just mainly been, what do I think is reasonable, and what do I think you can pull out of it to start out. But you want your starting price to be kind of a baseline, and you want the actual listings to be more than that. And
Gotcha.
so yeah, there really isn't any sort of method or rhyme or reason to how I price them. The gaming Shiba ones I priced really low. I priced those ones at 0.05 BNB, which is probably about $25 at the time. Uh, and I priced those low just because I was more like trying to make a statement. But the crazy part about it is if you go to NFT Key, it's right around 1.6 BNB for the floor. Uh, but there's 74 BNB in volume, 1.59, yeah, with 74 BNB in volume on that one. And so yeah, and those started at 0.05 BNB.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
I guess my question, and people are probably interested in learning about doing their own NFTs and minting them and everything. What would be your suggestion to them? Is it putting a lot of marketing dollars behind it? I know that's one of your strategies. Like you reinvested a lot of your initial revenue, a lot of your initial profits, everything actually
Pretty
back
much,
into,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah, kind of go through that.
about 98%. So my first collection, I mean, this is my strategy. This might not work for some people. but what my strategy was for the first collection, I put 98% of what came in back in to the project. So whether that be with game development or whether that be with marketing, I mean, we went insane on marketing. We had billboards in Times Square. We had every influencer you can think of practically on Twitter. BSC is like everyone uses Twitter influencers. I don't know why they don't really go to well, actually, I don't think they use YouTube just because the projects don't last long enough for YouTube to be edited sometimes. That's
Wow.
probably why. That's probably why. But I mean, think about a BSC project, you know, and YouTube's end up getting edited. That's probably why they go shy away from YouTube. So I just figured I'd go in and I'd go real hard. And that was my strategy. And that's what I did for the first collection. And I've put a great deal, the majority of what's come in on every other collection back in as well, because now I'm branding my name. So now I'm not branding collections so much as my name in the space. And these are the early days. So, you know, I'm solidifying my name as a Titan in the early days of NFTs.
Yeah, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up. And I gotta definitely kick it with you offline because I had a couple ideas for some NFTs that I told you about down in Miami that I wanted to do, and would love to get your guidance on how to do that and do it, roll it out the proper way. I guess my question to you is, I want to go backwards really quickly and talk about your early days and how you led up to this and all the trials and tribulations you've been through. One interesting thing, guys, is that I was talking to him down in Miami, and I'm like, we're just kicking it. And he's like, yeah. He's like, where are you from? I'm like, Detroit. He's like, oh, I lived there for a minute. Cass Corridor. I'm like, Cass Corridor. What the hell? So kind of give me your journey, man, your background to becoming the biggest NFT seller on Binance chain.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up very poor, homeless some of the times, and I knew I had to get out of that. So when I was 14, I started working full time at a restaurant, and then started trying to put money in little side businesses. Was homeless again at like 18, and so, but growing up in that poverty had led me to want better. I ended up moving to Detroit right around 18, 19. And I lived in Cass Corridor. I mean, my rent was only like $100 a month. And so it was back when they were starting to kind of revitalize Cass Corridor, but it was still not a very good area if you were
How the
in
hell
the
did you end
residential
up in
place.
Detroit, though?
Well, my dad actually lived in Plymouth.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
Yep.
but I actually never even saw him when I was in Detroit.
Damn.
So, but that was my thinking, was like, hey, I'll be by where my dad's at. But then it just never ended up working out that way. So, but yeah, I lived there for about a year and a half, and then went back to Wisconsin. Uh, but yeah, I got a lot of love for Detroit. Detroit's got a lot of culture. It's got a lot going for it.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we're a long ways off from the government ever investing in a city that's run by Black people. But
Preach.
you
Yeah.
know, but eventually we'll get there. You know,
Hmm.
that's the whole reason why Detroit is still down. I mean, if you want to be real, it's because the federal government's not going to invest in a Black-run city, and
I'm with you. I
it's
totally agree with you on
it's
that.
unfortunate but true. Ignoring the truth doesn't make it any better.
Right, right. So you moved around
Moving
and you
around.
stumbled across the crypto space, and now you're kind of here, and but in between that you kind of got yourself into some trouble.
Yeah.
What kind
So then I moved back to Wisconsin. I was homeless again. I ended up starting a business in telecommunications,
of? Mm-hmm.
and I was doing business over in UAE primarily,
Mm,
with cell phones. And so I ended up doing that. That market closed just due to things evolving in the cell phone sphere. This was back in early days, so I think the iPhone 1 was like the newest thing back then. And so there was no market for what I was doing. And that's when the Wisconsin capital occupation started. So Wisconsin capital occupation was what started Occupy Wall Street. It had happened before Occupy Wall Street, and we just took over the Capitol.
I
And
remember that. I
I
remember that.
I was like the main leader of that. And
Oh,
so, so then when Occupy Wall Street happened, I helped start up that. Well, obviously, when you're and helped with civil disobedience. So back then, people were too afraid to get arrested, and I helped bridge that gap and get people okay with being arrested for peaceful things. And so that put a big target on my back with the feds. But the feds actually really didn't become a big issue until Mike Brown got shot. And when Mike Brown got shot, a lot of people don't remember that it wasn't actually, it had nothing to do with him getting shot or why he got shot or the fact that there were questions that the protest started, because that was all normal stuff for that community. Cops gunning people down was just normal shit. But the reason why was because they wouldn't release the name of the officer that killed him, and it
right.
was like 3, 4, 5 days later, and they failed. They refused to release the name of the officer that killed him. That's what started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, someone claiming to be anonymous released the name of what they claimed to be the officer that killed him. The guy turns out to be a city sanitation worker. Doesn't even work for the police.
Huh?
And so,
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
yeah, and so anonymous says we have to clean house. So for on all of the anonymous official channels, they say for the next like 5 or 7 days or whatever it was, do not believe any doxes that come from us. We have to clean house and make sure because it made them look really bad.
Mm,
Because this guy's getting threats and all sorts of shit, and he's just a sanitation worker. And so during that time, someone from the core groups of Anonymous that went by G of Antisec had come across some information that was very helpful that needed to be released. So I was approached and I agreed to release the information. What it happened to be was 3 White House phone numbers directly inside of the Situation Room. So these,
wow.
yeah, and these are numbers for like foreign dignitaries and shit. So they're too important to change or disconnect, and they're not being answered by people who are paid to deal with pissants like you and me. And so they start getting flooded with phone calls of people who are pissed about Ferguson and what's going on in Ferguson, and the FBI. So that's when the feds really started having an issue with me, because Homeland Security tried getting me to take down the phone numbers, and I kept refusing. So eventually, They froze all of my bank accounts. Not only did I have my bank accounts frozen, but I had to tell them fuck you. So I pulled other money from other places, and I had this big elaborate weekend. I chilled with Terrence Howard at the Park Hyatt in Chicago. I had a suite. There's only 16 suites in that whole hotel. He had one. I had one. I went VIP to a Snoop Dogg concert. I was doing all sorts of Molly, doing this, all sorts of. I had bottles of fucking Cristal that I had to be drinking outside the hotels, just like right on the sidewalk. I was just fucking going crazy. I took a limo to Chicago and back, just to do this trip, just to show the feds like fuck you. Well, in Chicago, um,
They got a black site in Chicago.
oh yeah, they've got
You,
several of them.
you better be
Yeah,
careful out there,
yeah.
man.
Well, the fact that the police, so there was a bigger plan in play. The fact the police weren't engaging me should have been a sign, but I was just too into it to realize the sign that was there. Because then I went on a private yacht party with Talib Kweli and Pretty Lights.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, Talib Kweli and Pretty Lights through this like private yacht party. And so I went on that, and that's where this stripper from Springfield, Illinois, drugs my drink with barbiturates, and then ends up coming home to Wisconsin with me in the limo and drugging my drink. We end up getting an apartment. And she moves with her kid.
Wait a
And
minute, bro. Hold
yeah.
on, hold on. Stop the music, bro. This is like what's that movie?
Oh, The Hangover. The
This is some
Hangover. Yeah.
hangover shit,
Yeah.
dog.
No,
You
but
gotta be
it gets
kidding me,
worse. It
man.
gets worse. No, it gets worse. So then she tries to fake a domestic violence incident, right? So she takes the keys to my Mercedes and she shuts herself in the room, and I'm pushing on the door and yelling, "Give me my keys!" But I didn't touch her. She's drunk as fuck. She woke up some dude who was sleeping on the couch. He comes upstairs. When she's yelling on the phone to the police, like, "Oh my God, stop, stop." And I'm yelling, "Give me my keys," which probably isn't the best thing to be doing. But, she's yelling, "Stop, stop," like I'm beating her. But she's not saying I'm beating her. So I'm not responding the appropriate way. I'm just yelling, "Give me my keys," because I want the keys to my Mercedes back. And so she calls the cops. They come, but what she wasn't expecting was that there would be another witness when she opened the door. So when
Right.
she opened the door, she did tell the true story, but they still hit me for
Of course.
domestic disorderly
Of course.
because I pushed on the door and yelled. Because I pushed on the door and yelled, they said, "Oh, that's domestic disorderly." And so, but what it was supposed to do was that was supposed to take me out. So that's when the anonymous people were like, "You need to get a drug test." I got a 12-panel drug test, tested positive for barbiturates. They were in the liquor. So everybody in the house tested positive for barbiturates. Everyone that would, because I was always generous with my liquor. And so there were like 12 different people that tested positive for barbiturates for this whole thing to work. And then I find out that her ex-husband is a CIA contractor.
Mm.
So, I can't say as a fact that she was a government plant, but
Mm. Right.
that's what
Connect
that's
the dots, people.
that's what I think. And so yeah, that ended up happening. And then I ended up losing that house because I was like, I'm not going to pay rent for her to live there, and I couldn't live there by court order. So I'm like, fuck that. Um, and so then that's when the feds really started going on me. But then I ran for Congress twice, and the first time I ran against Paul Ryan because my last name's Ryan, his last name's Ryan. It made him spend $750,000 in a primary he was supposed to spend nothing because all of his signs and shit said Ryan for Congress, and he couldn't be Ryan for Congress anymore because there were two Ryans in the race. So the whole thing, I spent $600. The second time I ran, it ran for his seat. A week after I announced I was going in, he announced he wasn't running anymore. So in a 5-way primary, off just $600 again, I managed to get 12.9% of the Republican vote, running off of a completely progressive platform. And so what that did was that told the government, "Holy shit, if people actually see what he did there, it could really start fucking shit up." Because if people started realizing that progressives could win Republican seats, that would fuck both parties. If that started happening, because then people would have to actually think about what DR means, what each individual person thinks. Right now, they don't have to do that, but they would have to actually start looking into and researching who they're voting for, pretty much, if you started doing that. And so, 2 months after that run, the federal government sets me up. They knew I was dealing with many years of untreated depression through basic psychological profiles and whatnot. Um,
Mm.
so they were able to tell that I was dealing with many years of untreated depression, and they offered me a radioactive poison that would be, and scientifically it is true. They didn't lie to me about the science. It is completely harmless unless it's ingested or inhaled. So this substance, you can stand around it, you can hold it in your hand, you can do whatever. If you don't get any of it in your body, it's entirely harmless. That was important to me. Uh, you can't build a bomb out of it. So unless it's like something that you're trying to get people to inhale, but you can't build a bomb out of this. So it's not that type of radioactive material, but it's a radioactive poison. basically, that they're primarily used by the Russians. But the key part was that it would the end stages of it when it actually killed you would look similar to the end stages of cancer, or so they told me. That part is actually in dispute whether that's scientifically correct or not, but that's what they told me. Either way, they sent me the ability to get a hold of it, so they set me up, and it was clear in all of the emails, everything. It was clear that this was for me and not for trying to kill somebody else. But they played it off. They charged me with nuclear terrorism. So I was facing mandatory life. I was the
What?
first person that they ever charged federally with nuclear terrorism. And I was facing mandatory life. And they tried to take me out. They thought, because the statute is written so broad that it says anybody who attempts to possess a radioactive material with the intent to cause death or bodily injury. So at first they said, we don't think it was for suicide. We think he was trying to kill somebody, but they never put up who they thought I was trying to kill. So because there wasn't anybody. So, but that's what they told the judge at first. Then they backtracked on that and said, well, we believe that either way, it's still covered under the statute. And the crazy part about it is, the judge ruled the only reason why the whole thing didn't get dismissed and it lasted longer than it should have is the judge ruled that it couldn't be dismissed because even though Congress didn't originally intend this statute to cover suicide is a reasonably comparable evil to terrorism and murder. The judge said that suicide was a reasonably comparable evil to terrorism and murder, and because of that, the entire case could not be dismissed. And so, and then 5 days before trial, we have a witness who's about to prove entrapment. 5 days before trial, he has something come up that he can't make it to trial anymore. Regardless, the government knew that they still weren't going to win the terrorism charge or terrorism case. So what I ended up pleading to was something that's unlawful attempt to possess a radioactive material, which sounds bad, but it's in the same chapter as moving fireworks across state lines. So it's like it's a very unserious federal crime as far as like the chapter it's in, like, it's the same seriousness as moving fireworks across state lines, which is also a federal felony, by the way, but one that people do all the time. Yeah, I mean, the whole.
So where are you with the whole situation? Is it over?
Well, the funny thing is, so it's over, yes. But the way it got over is actually kind of funny. It got over by me being disobedient. So I ended up getting 2 years of probation. I got time served after 16 months, which was extraordinarily excessive to begin with for the charge. But they can't give you less than time served. And so they gave me 2 years of federal probation. Well, then the George Floyd stuff happened. So I got arrested in that. And the judge kicked me off of probation on bad behavior because he said that, like, he's like, there's probation can't help you because you're clearly too defiant and blah, blah, blah. So he kicked me off of probation on bad behavior. And then he sentenced me to two months in federal prison. When he sentenced me to the 2 months in federal prison, the BOP said, oh, wait, from his other arrest, because the judge had put me on detainer so that I couldn't get bailed out for like 2 months in my other arrest, which I have trial for in March. And that one, they're saying I terrorized the sheriff because I threatened to protest outside his house. But that arrest, he put that on. So BOP said I had time served because I have had a federal detainer on my state case. And so the judge kind of screwed himself, and I didn't have to do any time, and I got off of probation early on bad behavior. So that's completely gone. But I do have the state case still coming up in March.
So what are your feelings about that case? Your confidence level on that?
I am quite confident I'll win that case, because in order for me to lose the case, the jury has to rule that a reasonable person who had been a sheriff for 14 years would have been reasonably fearful for their life or safety off of what I did. And there's just no basis behind that. There's no basis for him to think that his life is going to get taken because I threaten a protest outside his house.
You
You know,
threatened to protest.
yeah, I threatened to protest.
You didn't protest.
No, well, I didn't have time. They picked me up too quick. Um, but yeah,
Oh
I
my
threatened to protest.
God, man.
It'll be a fun trial. But like I said, I already did 3 months on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if I did get convicted, like it's entirely unlikely that I would do any time. Um, but well, I mean, I'd get time served, so technically that
Right.
is doing time. But but yeah, it's and so yeah, that was the second arrest, and that left me where I was when I started crypto, because I had after 16 months of being in, and then getting out for I was out for like 3 or 4 months, and then going in for a whole nother 3 months. You're not left with much.
Right. Right.
So
Wow, man. So you started from the bottom. Now you're here. Like Drake
multiple
said.
times. Yeah, man, I've done that multiple times. So many times, too many times to count.
Great, man. That is an interesting story, bro. I like I said, I didn't hear it fully when I first met him, but I said, hey man, I got to get you on my channel so we can chat.
Well, and in
Sp-
the meantime, I also was fighting multiple rounds of cancer. And the
mm,
last one had been 4 years, and it had spread from the knee to the lung to the brain. And so, I was dealing with that while I was dealing with all this other stuff.
wow. Do you think that was from that radioactive stuff that was
No, no, no. I never
okay?
received any radioactive material.
Okay.
Yeah, but it also, well, I guess it probably could cause cancer if it was ingested or inhaled. But yeah, no, I never even received it. They arrested me right after I picked up the package. They arrested me, and it was still in my car.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So speaking of like you're really into the activist movement and helping spread the word. I just saw this come across. This is the Give Send Go website is under a DDoS attack, and they're trying to prevent the Freedom Convoy. Of I guess this is up in Canada.
Damn.
And look at the
Yeah, because GoFundMe just screwed them today.
GoFundMe screwed them, and so they moved to Give Send Go, and now that's under DDoS. Of course, we know how and who's doing all of that. Um, Tell me about what's going on with the NFT that you're about to do for the truckers up in Canada. Shout out to Amina; she's involved in that. Kind of tell us a little bit about that whole project.
Yeah, so Amina and I are working on that. It's going to be a collection of 2,500 NFTs. It's going to be trucks, and each truck will have a driver and a dog in it as well. So that's the concept that I have right now. It'll probably be ready to launch within a week. And what we want to do is just create a way. 80% of all of the mints will go automatically to an organizer. We're working on figuring out who the right organizer on the streets would be for that wallet. But that's a foolproof way that people will be able to donate and collect, because it'll be the NFT collectibles. I wanted to. I was really displeased about how the media was portraying the whole Canadian trucker movement
Of
as
course,
some sort of racist movement, or
yeah.
something.
One they see there's one swastika flag amongst 50,000 people. Like, come on now.
And what they don't understand is that one person holding it, you're going to have to physically and violently remove them if you want them to leave. And so, like, there's no easy way to go about it. um I'm sure there were plenty of people in the crowd that voiced their displeasure
I
about
heard
the
that there
swastika.
were. Yeah, I heard a
Yeah,
lot of people were trying to get that person out.
but those types of people you can't just convince out. So no matter what you do, you're screwed. if you
Hmm.
if you if you physically remove the person, then you might have injuries on your
So
side, but also you have the media rushing in saying, oh, now there's fights going on, and showing this big fight that's going on, and not even showing. They'll wait till after the swastika flag is on the ground, and then they'll show
Of
and make it
course.
seem like it's a fight and not people removing somebody for having a
Of
swastika fight,
course.
you
Of
know?
course.
And so there's no easy way to go about that situation other than I mean, I respect them for choosing the path of least resistance and just letting the dude be a fool, let the guy be a dumbass, that nobody likes or agrees with.
Wow, man. So I'm really looking forward to that release.
Yeah.
Just keep us posted on that, and definitely retweet and stuff. One thing I saw, man. Let me get this straight. So you're telling me that Eminem has some of your NFTs?
Yeah, so Eminem and DJ Khaled actually both have some of my NFTs. Now, the way the markets work and the way the blockchain works, it's hard to tell whether or not they were sent over by somebody or whether or not they were bought. So I don't know. I can't say that they bought them, but I can say that they have them and that they still have them. I mean, if you go to Eminem's wallet on OpenSea, you will not see my NFTs there because OpenSea doesn't support BSC. But if you
Right.
copy the wallet address,
Hmm.
everybody's ETH address is the same as their BSC address.
Right.
So if you go to bscscan.com instead of OpenSea and
Right.
type and then paste in that wallet address, you will see that it's only my wallets that he has, or only my NFTs, as far as I know. Yeah, 20 days ago, Cartel Punks, Badass Doggos, and Gaming Shiba.
Boom. There you
Yeah,
have it.
right in Eminem's wallet. Whether he bought them or whether he had them gifted, I can't say for sure, but they're in his wallet and they've been there for 20 days.
So they've got crypto. They've got the cartel punks. He's got cartel punks, badass dog. That's yours as well, right?
Yep, and Gaming Shiba. Yep, all three of them are mine. Yeah, it's nuts. And also Bitcoin Latinum. I just just like a week or two ago, we finally finalized our deal. It was like 3 months in the making, but we finally finalized it, and so those are coming out pretty soon. Um, the crazy part about the Bitcoin Latinum collection is it will be my first collection that's not BSC, for one, but two, the reason why is we don't have a launch date yet is we're trying to find the best celebrity we can to endorse it. So this is going to be a big celebrity endorsed collection. It's going to be the first collection over 1,000 that is only available with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Latinum.
Mm.
And so it's going to be a whole new thing. And anybody who's paid attention to Bitcoin Latinum knows they go really hard on their marketing, really hard on their advertising, their
Yes,
stuff.
they do. They
Um,
they uh they sponsored the whole the Miami Decentral
yeah, the
conference.
essential, yeah.
Yeah,
So
where I first met you.
yeah, they go hard, and that's what I need for partnerships. But we actually have we actually have we've been tentatively talking about, but it seems like we're going to do a large scale partnership where I do multiple collections in partnership with them. If they keep pushing out the promotion, then we'll have successful collections that we can all make money off of. Yeah, I mean, it just keeps going. It'll be big. It'll be a big celebrity in the hip hop scene, just because there seems to be the biggest. Well, first off, hip hop's my favorite music, but it also seems to be the biggest cross between hip hop and NFTs out of all the genres of music. So we
Nice.
have decided it'll be a hip hop artist, a multi platinum of some
Sweet.
sort.
So let me ask you, what's your plans for the future? Like, I'm starting to get into this whole metaverse thing, and are you involved in that space, implementing or kind of cross promoting NFTs within the metaverse? What
I
any
do.
any plans?
Yeah, I am talking with TCG World about getting an art gallery in their metaverse, and so and that's already been decided. It's just a matter of figuring out how to technically implement it. So they have to build the gallery. That'll be a whole big art gallery inside of that metaverse, and that's the big BSC metaverse. It's TCG World. But yeah, I mean, I'm not doing too much with the metaverse stuff just because once you have your niche that you're known for, and that you're really good at, uh, I tend to say don't veer away from that, or I tend to advise that people don't veer away from their niche that's really good. So I think I'll probably, because I think there will always be a market for generative collections. I think the metaverse will just become one more thing. Like there's crypto, and there's NFTs, but
Right.
just because NFTs are here doesn't make crypto any less
Right.
prominent.
But
I
I
think the
almost
meta.
I almost see like the metaverse engulfing and encompassing all of it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, in ways it will, but you will also have all of it outside of the metaverse as well. You'll have it all inside the metaverse and outside as well. I think, because I think there will always be a like, well, and that's where it's so important to establish as a Titan right now and get as much out there as I can.
right,
That's quality, quality projects, is
right.
because that's gonna be what's gonna stick around. Eventually, that'll be all that sells is like OG Titans.
You're right. No, I think you're in the best position you can ever be. Do you plan on crossing over to other chains, or are you gonna just keep that niche
Well, with
concentration within the Binance community?
yeah, with the Bitcoin Platinum one, that probably won't be BSC minted. But because you'll only be able to pay for it with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Platinum. But I do plan to go to other chains. I'm going to ETH Denver, which is
Yeah, you
a
told me
whole.
about that. You asked me if I was going.
Yeah, that's 10 days. That's in like 6 days from now, but it's a 10-day convention. Hoping to find a team there that knows what they're doing with ETH. Because if I can find a team that just needs art, then we can work something out. Probably with something that I already have. I always got to get some sort of deposit if I'm going to be doing a collection for somebody before I start. Just because of the time that's involved. But I also do random stuff on the side that I have available. Like right now, I have one collection called Schnauzers and Trousers, which actually looks
Mhm.
different than the one that's in my Instagram. But the Schnauzers and Trousers is one that I could launch on ETH, or I've been looking into possibly launching on Matic, or all sorts of different chains. Yeah, that was my first original sketch, but it ended up turning out a little bit different. But the backstory behind that is actually kind of funny because I got threatened to get thrown in the hole for asking for Schnauzers and Trousers magazine so when I was in jail, and so I knew I had to do something with Schnauzers and Trousers at some point in my life. And I actually doxed the deputy that threatened to throw me in the hole. So I'm gonna send him a letter at his house once I do the collection, and I'm gonna be like, "Yo, Pribble, hey, I've made this collection. I don't know if you remember threatening to throw me in the hole, but I'm gonna send you an airdrop since you inspired it. Just send me your address."
That's dope, man. I'm real like just I love seeing cats, come from nothing and grind it up and do their thing, and you're really in your groove. You're doing your thing, bro, and much success to you in the future. Any last thoughts you want to leave the audience with?
Just keep going at it. If you're looking to come up, you're looking to make it from somewhere, just keep going at it. Keep doing what you're doing and do the best that you can, and eventually things, the rest will follow. Uh, but other than that, yeah, I mean, crypto is a space that's so open. There's so many possibilities. There's so many open spaces for so many people. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're watching this, then you're already at the forefront of it. But just keep going, keep learning more, keep doing, and keep at it, and hopefully everybody can see some massive profits.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another kicking this session today was with NFT Demon, my guy. I can't wait to hang with him again. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. I'm out of here. Holla! If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Holla!